Welcome back
Yeah.
to the Control Chaos podcast. This is both being live streamed and recorded in case it decides it doesn't want to have frames on Twitch, but we want to give you guys, our Twitch audience, a little behind the scenes for our recording process for the podcast. If you didn't know, there was one. Now you do. This is episode I've lost fucking count. Considering there's been two variations of this at this point. Technically three if you count the one Red and I did for a bit. But we really want to talk about the whole Warner Brother mess right now and go through some of our darker series that we've read and want to recommend to you guys. It's
Mhm.
obviously going to be shorter than most of our podcasts have been because there's only so much you can talk about on those that haven't already been said in in a lot of various little videos out there. At least on the Warner Brothers thing, you know. But animation has been getting the rough end of the stick for a very, very long time. And with this wonderful merger that they did between Warner Brothers and Discovery, uh, it's been a whole shit show the last couple weeks. Having friends that live down in the Texas area and have worked with divisions of what used to be like AT&T or Otter Media, and that whole portion that got bought out in this merger, it's been rough seeing what they've been going through. I I can't describe you how many tears have been shed over projects that are no longer able to be legally streamed because of it being written off as tax write-offs, and it's not even just animation. Apparently, like a lot of the CW verse is being gutted, the Arrowverse, because Legends of Tomorrow has officially been canceled at this point, which was I think the last remaining portion of that, wasn't it? To anybody that was following that, I dropped off of that hardcore, but like that seemed to be like the backbone of CW for the longest time, other than Riverdale. Which is wild to think that those two stark contrasts were holding a channel afloat, and now that those are kind of just done, I think Riverdale's wrapping up, and with Legends of Tomorrow, it's pretty much the end of it because they confirmed the Flash was over, Arrow's been done, Supergirl got canned I think last year, and now with Legends of Tomorrow that's gone. And it seems like they're just restructuring all of the CW to be more like 50 plus oriented from everything that I've been reading from that, because that seems to be their core demographic, which no real millennial has cable or a variation of like actual cable, so there's not really statistics to go through and peruse like, oh, this 20 something is watching episode 27 of Riverdale currently. They're using their parents' logins. So I really want to just pull up the whole graveyard here of what got canceled over the weekend.
Yeah, because I'm in the dark completely about some of these series.
Yeah, I've kind of not been really following a lot of the series that got canceled. That's why I was hoping that Thurman would have had his ass here by now, but his doctor's appointment's taking a lot longer than it was originally going to be.
Honestly, for me with the Warner Brothers and like the HBO Max gutting shit, I was just looking out for my favorite shows, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, Close Enough got gutted before I could finish it.
I'm I'm pretty sure there's a Google Drive link floating around with that in there. Um, because I downloaded from that one that I've been retweeting a lot, a bunch of the stuff like Mau Mau, Infinity Train, a bunch of those other ones. But the whole reason I really wanted to bring this up is this seems to be a recurring trend I'm not disabling my ad blocker to read this article. I'm sorry. So, Infinity Train was one of them, and that was supposed to have a few more seasons. That's one I had been following. Mau Mau, there was a season 2 that was completed, and Parker Simmons said it will be airing on Cartoon Network, along with the final season of this summertime camp is supposed to be airing on there. OK KO has been fucked since it began. They're like it got that dreaded like early morning time slot real early on in its incarnation. And then I guess Thurman watched one of these videos. Because I've got a like partial red bar on it. So, and the other one seems to be we are getting. I gotta actually go to my Twitter because I retweeted the 6 that are getting shopped to other homes. Now, normally this would have some sort of like edit here, or we'd be a little bit more coherent on it, but I want all the raw for Twitch. So it is Batman the Caped Crusader, which is supposed to be the sequel to Batman the Animated Series. We have also in there the Gumball movie.
Fuck, dude, that's Gumball was supposed to get a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I hadn't watched Gumball in like forever. I fell off like at the end of season 2.
See, the ironic part is the ending of Gumball is hitting a lot now. Because it was a joke that, like, if it didn't go live action, it would never carry on, because that seems to be the trend now. There was a Merry Little Batman movie, where it's a little Batman, a 6-year-old Damian Wayne, episode. Bye Bye Bunny, a Looney Tunes musical. The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. A Steve Urkel story. Did I Do That? To the Holidays. With Jaleel White reprising his legendary character. That is insane to think about. And then yeah, like the Gumball movie. All are getting shopped to other channels at this point.
Look what you did.
There's also not going to be a 5th season of Young Justice. It's insane. Like, this Cartoon Network has already fucked a lot of their shows over by giving them that dreaded like early morning time slot and leaving Teen Titans Go to fill up the remainder of it. For years now, Thurman and I have kind of shit on the scheduling practices of Cartoon Network. And now they want to do like the more real content and go back to like a CN Real style they've been talking about for the last couple months now. And I wonder how much of it was because of this merger that was happening in the background, and now we're just starting to see the rippling effects of it, and how much of it was to try and save the network. Because that's not how you save the already dying Cartoon Network, by taking cartoons off of Cartoon Network. Especially around the time of their 30th anniversary, which they've been promoting hardcore with like bringing Adventure Time back, Steven Universe back, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Clarence. A bunch of the older cartoons are getting thrown back onto the time slot. As like, remember this thing that we used to have kind of things? I like projects to kind of gauge interest, I think, because Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and Ed, Edd and Eddy are getting complete series box sets for the first time, which makes them one of 7 that have ever gotten the complete box set treatment. Think about that for a moment. Out of all the cartoons, and not just the Hanna-Barbera library, which was how Cartoon Network was founded, you are having 7 total cartoons that have had a complete box set. And all of them have been DVDs besides Samurai Jack. You do not even have a Blu-ray complete series of Adventure Time or Steven Universe. You have them on DVD.
Is there one? Is there one for regular show?
That was DVD.
Fuck, we need to get Blu-ray for regular show.
And then you have now Ed, Edd and Eddie, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and you've had 2 various versions of the Samurai Jack. You had one originally when it ended, and then one with the final season slapped onto it, which was just a reprint and an upscaling like they did with the original Power Rangers episodes. Oh my god. So we also have in the gutter Nick, right? Because they have an arguably worse outlook on their shit than Cartoon Network.
The only outlook they have is it's gotta be 24/7 SpongeBob.
I'm just pulling up the East feed here for the US, right? So today's schedule was Paw Patrol for 5 hours, SpongeBob and the Patrick Star Show until the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and then 3 hours of Friends reruns, 3 hours of Seinfeld reruns, an hour and a half of Mike and Molly, and a half hour of Young Sheldon. That is the Nick schedule today.
Like seriously, is there nothing other than those 6 shows?
I'm trying. Let me go to tomorrow's because
Why not have like reruns of Hey Arnold or like Rugrats or
Luke,
something
tomorrow's not any better. Tomorrow's not any better. You have
like that? What's tomorrow?
You have 5 hours of Paw Patrol, Kiri and Lou for a half hour, 2 more or an hour and a half more of Paw Patrol, a half hour of SpongeBob, the Sonic movie twice, and the SpongeBob movie sandwiched in between those.
What?
Which SpongeBob movie?
Sponge Out of Water, the one from
Nice.
2015.
Okay, that one's good. I'll give them that.
But question:
Mm-hmm.
why do they need to play the Sonic movie twice in the same day?
In case somebody didn't DVR it, I don't know. I'm looking at all of their this week's schedule, and yeah, it's not good.
You wanna know what's funny?
Yeah,
The Sonic the Hedgehog movie's on Netflix in the UK.
I think it is here too, or it might just be on Paramount Plus. But yeah, I know the second one is on Paramount Plus. But Cartoon Network schedule for today was 2 hours of Powerpuff Girls, 2 hours of Craig of the Creek, Psychic, Total Drama-Rama, The Day My Butt Went Psycho, Jesus, that's a deep cut, D and Ace, 16, Sir Dudley Ding Dong, Total Drama-Rama, Detention Air, 16, The Day My Butt Went Psycho, an hour of OKKO, an hour of Ben 10, the Powerpuff Girls for another 2 hours, an hour.
Wait, which Ben 10?
OG.
Nice!
Yeah, because it's got
Good to see
Michael.
Ben 10
It's Adventures in Babysitting episode and Bright Lights Blackheart. Victor and Valentino, We Bear Bears, Amazing World of Gumball, Clarence, Craig of the Creek. And then their nighttime hours are Johnny Bravo, which I'm shocked is airing in modern times. Ed, Ed and Eddie, Dexter's Lab, Codename Kids Next Door, Foster's Home. The same exact Johnny Bravo for some reason. Marvelous Adventures of Flapjack, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. That same Johnny Bravo. Again, Foster's Home, 2 hours of Powerpuff Girls, and an hour of Sidekick. Is that the only episode of Johnny Bravo they're legally allowed to air?
I guess so.
I'm seeing, just out of pure curiosity, if they air a different episode tomorrow. They do. They just air the same one 3 times. So for those listening, I'm using a website called TV Passport to pull up TV schedules here. Just to see what these are, because it's so interesting to think about where these networks are going. And while I'm at it, I'm actually going to see if Legends of Tomorrow was canceled. Just for my own sake, before I get roasted in the comments. Yes, it was canceled. 2016 to 2022. Okay. So I'm not gonna get roasted in the comments for that one. But yeah, like, I can't fathom the executive decision to air the same episode of Johnny Bravo 3 times. But maybe it's some licensing issue with the creator. But y'all heard about the Batgirl movie getting shelved, right?
Yeah.
So right now they're holding essentially a funeral screening for that movie, for the cast and crew of it, before it's locked in, like the equivalent of the Disney Vault, never to be shown again.
Like, why was it?
It wasn't
cancelled?
It wasn't up to quality standards, allegedly.
So let me get this straight. We can have something like Slideshow of Ragnarok, and that gets put through no problem. But
right.
But the Batgirl movie, oh no, it has to be up to standard.
Well, to play devil's advocate in that case, for those who don't know, since we're talking about live action stuff right now, Record of Ragnarok is an anime, allegedly, based on a manga series that is very, very good. Definitely recommend you read it. But it was animated at like 13 frames a second max. That was completely different standards and practices for animation versus live action, I guess. A lot of the correlating rumors are they only had enough capital to put out 2 movies this year after the purchase of all the remaining properties that they bought and took on like $190 billion worth of debt. That's an over-exaggeration of how much debt they incurred, but after all of that, they only had X amount of money and they wanted to put it onto these very few things, and they were using a lot of these shows as write-offs to decrease the debt. And that's why a lot of them got canceled, along with Batgirl and a few other things that aren't really worth mentioning. There's a whole list of everything that got shelved and or canceled. But yeah, like, I think it's more insulting to show a secret screening of a movie before you put it away forever because it can't legally be shown anymore. And than it is to just say, fuck it, your movie's not getting made. Personally, I find that more insulting, you know? Because,
yeah,
regardless of your feelings towards the character, the cast, the crew, anything there, they put their whole heart and soul into that project.
And you know what this is going to lead to? it's going to lead to the woke brigade saying like, we knew it, it was too woke, so it was cancelled.
Not, stopping to realize that like 20 people have wore the mantle of Batgirl, or, the fact that this isn't the first time a movie's been shelved in this capacity. We usually just don't hear about it. There's been 3 attempts to make a Halo movie. There have been, I think, 4 attempts now, not counting the Netflix one that's actually being made currently, to make a BioShock movie. The first one was being made when I was in fucking high school. Aging myself there. I'm 30 fucking 1. I cannot believe BioShock is as old as it is, but it is. It's hard to think about at this moment. Hello, Ann Arbor. I just now tabbed over to see the OBS comments / chat.
Oh my god! I've just looked at it myself. BioShock 2000. I was finishing high school when it came out. I was 16 when it came out.
Yeah.
Wait, Bioshock 2007?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was barely even a fetus.
Yeah.
I was like 4 years old.
I'm currently going through playing that game again to prepare for the Netflix movie. I forgot how fun that game was.
Yeah, I'm a baby.
Yeah.
I might actually have to get the BioShock collection for the Switch.
I was gonna say, if you want it for PC, I think I still have like 2 Humble keys because they give it out like fucking hotcakes. They gave it out in the COVID-19 bundle, I believe, and then a 2K bundle that I bought so I could get the last Borderlands. And I gave Ann Arbor my code for that. I just needed the last DLC. But like, no, if you look at my Humble page, there's like 700 things I haven't even redeemed. I'm slowly going through and giving them out to people, just to clear my queue.
Okay.
But no, like the sheer stupidity of that whole thought of the woke brigade coming for it when you stop and realize how often movies are canceled. I love to think about, because you are going to see it. You very much are going to see it. It's the same thing that there's a show on Netflix that just got canceled. I believe it was called First Kill. That was like lesbian vampires, which was okay.
That sounds awesome.
It was an okay show. It was very much like your CW level drama. It was very reminiscent of like the Vampire Diaries, but it just had like lesbians in it. And people were pissed that it existed because it had lesbians in it. And then other people are like, yay, representation for me. And I'm just over here in the middle like, the writing's pretty bad, guys. The writing's pretty bad. But the second it got axed, they're like, oh, yes, another woke show gone. I'm like,
yeah, I'm looking on a certain advocate for let's cancel quote unquote wokeness. This is their tweet. Woke repurposed Batman the anime series from J.J. Abrams cancelled.
Yeah, like
there was.
It's always the people who complain about wokeness, who being snowflakes, who are like throwing their arms up in the air when a show gets canceled because they don't like what the show is offering. Like, oh, this show has fucking lesbians.
Yeah, and you want to know what? And you want to know what's ultra sad about this Twitter user? And they put it in their handle, so I have no complaints in calling them out on it. Is that they're an ex-felon, and they literally put that in their Twitter feed as like it's a badge of honor.
Make it make sense. Okay, but there was no even indication that the fucking animated series sequel was going to be woke. It was just continuing the adventures from Batman the animated series. That's what baffles me in that one. Like, my brain hurts. I guess just because J.J. Abrams was directing it, they immediately thought, like, oh, well, it's gonna be woke.
Yeah, I never got that.
It's
like
because good.
it's like them saying, "Oh, this series is going to be woke because I'm directing it a autistic asexual."
Yeah, and you know,
Like
there would be people that
they're
would say
acting
that.
Christian Walker doesn't exist. Sorry, I had to
Oh.
dunk on him.
Yeah, these are the type of people that worship Homelander, 100%.
Absolutely.
And I'm just over here like, you realize you're not supposed to idolize him. Just like you're not supposed to idolize Archer or Rick Sanchez or Walter White.
Or Aaron Yeager.
I wasn't going to go there because I have my own dunking on that when we get to the
I had to dunk on it because I'm still seeing comments about Gabby being the worst thing to humanity, and I'm just there thinking like, wait a minute, so you're okay with Eren Yeager committing genocide against several people that could very well be like Sasha Blouse?
We'll get to that one a little bit later with my thoughts anyway.
Yeah, we will.
But no, like the sheer like that side of the internet continues to entertain and confuse me, and it has for fucking nearly a decade and a half at this point. Because, and just for clarification, if you go back and watch any of our old content, I was very much, teetering down that pipeline early on, but I pulled myself out of it. It's very, very easy to find yourself in that. It's just like how you evolve as a human. Like there is a very, very fine line between going like full right-wing psycho and full leftist, you actually fight for the people. Wow, the fucking comments on this video are gonna be a shit show. I was just saying in the Chainsaw Man review, like, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with the analytics for this channel. And then I go on a tirade on if you haven't caught on by this point, the vast majority of us on this channel are leftists, and if you're not okay with that, the door's right there. But no, like, there's a very...
Wait a second.
Go ahead.
Didn't I make a white nationalist joke?
Go for it.
Well, a joke poking fun at white nationalism?
Go for
How did
it.
that not get like... No, I said didn't I make one?
You did.
How has that not received any like backlash?
They probably thought like, well, this is just a guess. Let's just let them live. Whereas
Yes.
like my icon is very much prevalent on everything. They don't realize like at this point you guys are recurring cast members.
So basically we're like the lower straw hats that nobody really pays attention to until they're brought to the forefront.
Yeah, you're
like Robin.
Yeah, Robin and Chopper here.
Wait, who's Chopper and who's Robin?
I was just using the two off the top of my head. I'm not.
Yes, Frankie, Brooke, and Jinbei would also be in that boat too.
Oh, true. But like there's a fine line here between what we're seeing now and a mass turn back towards piracy, right? And I'm not saying that piracy is always the option, because I would rather these shows get the respect, and what I'm seeing now on my OBS is exactly why I'm doing a local recording of this one. I would very much like to see these shows get the due respect and ad revenue and, love that they deserve, right? But when there comes a point where you can no longer legally access this content, which is exactly where we're heading for a lot of this, it is always ethical to pirate it, because that is the only way you can ever see it again. There are Google Drive links floating around for stuff like Infinity Train, Mau Mau, OKKO, older stuff like Mega XLR, etc., that are being purged from these sites. I urge you to actually go out and seek them out if you've ever wanted to watch them. I believe there's also one for Close Enough. If not, I'm very certain that there is a torrent of them out there. I am killing any chance at a partnership with Warner, and I'm okay with this. But there is that fine line. And Luke, you and I have talked about this in the past. It's really the only way you can actually see the unedited versions of like 201 and 200 for South Park. It's the only way you can actually see the Super Best Friends anymore, because they were removed when they went to HBO Max. And there's, I think, 3 or 4 more episodes.
Yeah, well, I've got season 5 of South Park on DVD, which has Super Best Friends.
Mm-hmm. I used to have like the whole box set. Now I lost it quite a few years ago, actually, before they started purging like the uncensored version of 200 and 201.
But his
Go ahead.
I just want to quickly say something to get off my chest. Yeah, so you say piracy is the most ethical way. Yeah, don't say that out loud in the presence of a certain person with the handle mother in their name.
I don't give a shit.
Or to one of the voice actresses for Funimation who basically sent out a tweet which basically boiled down to, if you can't find it, tough, it's lost to the annals of history.
I don't give a shit. And when you remove the ability to legally watch a show or legally play a game or do any of those things, right? Piracy is the option. Piracy is the only option. I am 100% for like game preservation, art preservation, all of that. And the second I can no longer legally play what I own, or the second I can no longer legally watch what I fucking bought, is the second you break your own EULA. And I will go out of my way to get it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny that actress said that, because what happens when her work is lost to the annals of history and she can't legally find it? What's she going to do then?
The exact thing that everybody else does. Pirate it.
Even though that's breaking her own philosophy?
Yep. And that's what you call a hypocrite. I would rather just be completely honest and upfront with the audience. Like, I used to pirate nearly every game when I was a kid on PC when I didn't have money. And that's how I experienced things originally, like BioShock. How I experienced the first couple like PS2 Dragon Quest is through an emulator, because I did not have that kind of money to go out and buy every game. And once one of my friends showed me like what an emulator was, that's how I experienced a lot of those things. When I got older and I got the money, I went out and I bought those things and supported the official release. I used to sit in the classroom and read scanlations before Viz had a fucking official app for a lot of those things.
Yeah.
97% of the manga streams that we do here on the channel are through scanlations. That's why I don't clamor for a sponsorship from Viz, because I would be hypocritical and saying that I deserve that when I go out of my way to read, most of the stuff that there's a channel account for the Viz that I made for anything there. But like for stuff like Kodansha, Seven Seas, etc., like most of those, because you can't legally access them in a digital format usually outside of scanlations, I use scan sites. I'm not going to lie about it. You can see it in the fucking crossbar. that I 100% am essentially pirating that content. That's why I don't upload those streams to the VOD channel that we just made. Plug. Kontrolled Khaos Studios for that. Where, like, all of the archives for streams are just there. Except for Manga Mondays. Or in the case of this week, Manga Wednesday. Because I forgot what fucking day it was this week when I started streaming. Like, 100% that was on me. I thought it wasn't Monday. I thought it was Sunday. I'm like, well, fuck. Now we're just going to go through and just change the whole ass schedule around so people can view what they want to view. But that exists because of piracy. When you have things that have fallen into a state of it's no longer supported, like Star Wars Galaxies, for example, Luke. The only way that game still functions at this point is because of pirated copies and peer-to-peer servers, which is something I find very fascinating.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the game Freelancer as well, which was an old like space role-playing simulation game.
Yep,
that's still popular.
Think of EVE Online, but make it 1990s, and that's what that is.
Yeah.
I remember my uncle used to play that a lot. Ultima Online is another very famous one that exists solely at this point because of piracy. And Richard Garriott is 100% in support of that because it allows those communities to continue fostering on past the, end of service. There used to be a Matrix MMO that kind of tied into the final movie, or what is probably going to be the final movie after how poorly received it was. That told little bits and pieces of the lore, but it died with all of you awakening from the Matrix and being popped up out of it. And there's a famous scene from when the server shut down that people went back and captured footage for to prep you for the movie. And it just showed that final cutscene where you come back to the real world, and that's basically where that fourth movie takes place, with all the story beats from that show, or from that game, taking, little bits and pieces from it and making it canon to the movies. Which is really interesting that, 10 years down the line, we saw something else try to emulate that in a game/show called Defiance. I think I'm probably the only person here that watched that show. But it was a schlocky B sci-fi show set in a universe where you have essentially Valerian steel daggers that kind of did all sorts of fucked up shit to the body. It had all sorts of crappy, all the junk from the Sci-Fi Channel. Your Sharknado style shitty science fiction plot lines, and all of that written into both a video game that would impact the show, and the show would impact the video game. None of that ever made any difference whatsoever because they could not scope it. It was, I forget what studio made the game, but after the show ended, they made the final season completely in the game because it costs less to make the video game than the show itself. Which is mind-boggling that a video game costs less than a show. But yeah, that game, I think finally, even the second incarnation finally shut down last year. I popped back on it just to see what changed, because I played it when I was in my early college years, because the show intrigued me because I love objectively shit movies and shows. It was a guilty pleasure, and not a thing had changed. It's just they upscaled the graphics and they added 4 or 5 mission segments to it, and your old character didn't cross over either, so there was really no point. But I think we've talked our way out of the Warner Brothers scope of things here, and we should probably just get onto the darker series. If my call didn't die, Boop, boop, boop. Guys?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I didn't know if Discord died there or not. Because I was in the
No,
red
no, it
on
hasn't died.
there. It was in the red there. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But no, like, so for the Darker series, this is a topic you pitched when we were
Yeah.
brainstorming some modcasts. I think I'll let you take the floor with this for that one.
Yeah, so I was just like, it just basically came from just a thought that came to me about like, hey, there was some because people will talk about like say like particularly anime and just be looking at it broad stroke like, oh, it's just cartoons, it's gonna be happy go cheery light, and then that just got me thinking like, wait a minute, it's not all. It's not all happy Teletubbies, sunshine and rainbows for some of these series. Like one in particular, I think you know Vex all too well,
Oh, God.
and so does Tyler. I'll just say the two words that I know he's not here at the moment because he's muted, but Denji Buddy,
Oh,
Chainsaw Man.
I think there's a great cast here for Chainsaw Man. So this one that we actually still review to this day over on Chaos Squared. I had to adjust my mic because I'm leaning back because my pain pill's hitting me. So Chainsaw Man is quite possibly the most mainstream of what we'll probably talk about here. Other than Attack on Titan, which will be one of mine. So Chainsaw Man starts with this wonderful coming of age story of a kid who's selling his organs to pay off his father's debt, including his testicle.
Which is just like, what the hell?
This is all in the first chapter, and then he goes off to fight devils, right? Including the Tomato Devil. And devils are gauged by they're gauged by like the level of fear in the universe for that object. And
Yeah, which I was gonna say the first time I saw that. Wait, the Tomato Devil, and then I watched that series. It's The Order from a Rabbit, where one of the main characters actually hates tomatoes.
yeah, and there are some of us who are allergic to tomatoes, so it is a very real fear for us. So like maybe this has tomato on it, and depending on your severity of your allergy, that can put you into full-blown anaphylactic shock and possibly kill you. So it's a very real fear for some of us. Like, I don't have that bad of an allergy to that like I do with, like, bee stings. Like, I have to carry an EpiPen for bees. So the bee devil, for example, would be a very big fear of mine, and it's a very real fear for a lot of people because it's a very common allergy. Whereas I had no idea how common tomatoes were as an allergy until here recently. Like in the span of like 5 or 6 introductions, like there were while I was on my little dating app run, like a lot of my partners on there were like, no tomatoes, no tomatoes, no tomatoes. I'm like, wait, hold on, allergic? Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. It's a lot more common than I ever thought, really.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, going back to the bees and wasps things. Yeah, my brother's allergic to them.
Oh yeah. Most of my family is. It's a hereditary one, apparently. So yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. And then as you go on, it just Fujimoto in particular has a way of writing a dramatic series that kicks you in the dick at the end of every chapter, it feels like.
I know, and apparently I cannot remember where I read this, but apparently there was a rumor that the reason he could get away with so much in part 1 of Chainsaw Man was because he made Denji just like the most basic shonen protagonist ever.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, he could do whatever he wanted. And if you've if anybody's read his previous work for Jump Plus Fire Punch, you'll know some of the messed up stuff that is in that.
I hate that I'm going to talk about the brief interaction I had with that series later in this video.
Oh my! I cannot wait for that.
And I'm pleased to announce we'll be continuing that fucking series eventually, and donate to us here on Twitch for my inevitable need for therapy after finishing that series.
But yeah, Pancake, Mr. Tyler Pancake. We're just talking about the one series where it's become a meme now with us, Denji Buddy. Because when you read those chapters, I remember you reading those chapters and you were traumatized.
Yes, I was.
So I think I'll add one final thing for Chainsaw Man here. Part 2 is shaping up to be arguably better than part 1. And I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it is about Yoru and Asa's relationship that makes it so much more intriguing than Denji and Power, for example, or Denji and Makima. But that split personality syndrome in a character has always intrigued me since fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! With like Bakura.
That's what I was gonna say.
With like Bakura and Yami and all of those like Junjun moments in there. It's go ahead.
I will say, however, a lot of the time with characters with DID, it's usually portrayed pretty shittily.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think it's DID in this case. I think it's just more the devil inside of her, which is what makes it actually okay to me. If it was DID, I'd be like, please handle this with a little bit of class here. And I think Fujimoto would be the author to do that. But I don't know in that one, considering some of the subject matter Fujimoto's touched on.
Yeah, but I was just going to say as well, I agree with you, Fex, with Yoru and Asa, because of the fact that Yoru, as the War Devil, is inside her and can get to her on a more emotional, traumatic level than Makima ever could.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm liking this part so far a lot more than part 1. But I will say there is no greater reveal in manga to me than the fucking Gun Devil just wiping out hundreds of thousands of people and the fucking names on the page of everything.
Which I counted.
And I'm like,
and
man.
And it wouldn't surprise me if it's revealed that Asa's parents are, or at least someone related to her, was one of the victims of the Gun Devil.
I think that's where we're going to go, and that's going to be even more traumatic for Denji, because he had to kill his arguable best friend at that point as the gun fiend.
Not just his best friend, his brother figure.
Right, so like, it's insane how traumatic that's going to be.
Also, can I just say, no sympathy for Bucky.
None.
No sympathy for the boy Bucky.
I liked him as a meme, but
Bucky was a tool. He was a tool.
Bucky is the greatest thing I have ever seen in my entire life.
I hope you're being sarcastic.
You all show respect to the boy Bucky.
I think he's being sarcastic at this point. I hope he's being sarcastic, or I'm going to have to kick him from the call.
Yeah.
No, but like, that character introduction was hilarious, though. Like, for considering what we came from in the chapter prior, right? That was a hilarious interaction. To be like, hey, I'm full of dad jokes and puns. Let's decompress after chapter 99, you know, or chapter 97, whatever. And then we're over here like, okay, you exist, but you're going to die horribly because it's Chainsaw Man. And then he dies horribly. But going on to the next one. I know it's not technically dark in the traditional sense, but it's dark in the psychological sense, and that's Monster.
Yes, that was one of mine.
I have yet to read a work of fiction that has fucked with me on such a psychological level as Urasawa's Monster. There
Yes.
is there's a method to Urasawa's reading that makes everything in that manga hit you like a ton of bricks, but makes you sympathize with every character in that series. Even Johan.
Yes, definitely. And I was going to say it was tough. Picking either Monster or 20th Century Boys, but I feel like 20th Century Boys is great. It's really well made, and I highly recommend it. But it can be a little bit too confusing at times. Whereas Monster, it just spoke to me the first time I watched it. It just spoke to me so much that I went and read the manga as well.
Exactly.
Like, I got all the perfect edition. Like, and just Johan, like that scene of his introduction in the raid. That is like my favorite scene in any series ever.
Yeah, 100%. I think the introduction of the orphanage hit me on a personal level that I didn't think manga could, because I knew quite a few kids growing up that came from foster care, and hearing their stories from that and the hell they went through. For clarification, Luke's UK, Tyler and I are America, and I think we can both say, in some capacity, if we have any experience with this, the American foster care system is basically made for profit. It is very much exploited for wealthy white parents, and it is very much made for mostly infants to filter through. The second you get to like a higher age here in America, like you're in like that early middle school to high school age, you're fucked. And that's when you turn to essentially a life of crime to kind of make ends meet, or at least judging from the experiences that my friends had. And that getting out of that cycle of that systemic abuse from those foster parents, like, I did this out of the kindness of my heart. You'll be grateful for me. I rescued you from squalor. Getting out of that and trying to form a normal life after that emotional and psychological abuse is very difficult here in our foster care. And seeing it kind of portrayed a Monster just hurts.
But on a much more what the actual F level.
We're 50 minutes in, you can say fuck.
What the actual fuck level, considering what the orphanage was trying to make Johan into.
Exactly.
And even more on the nose, considering it's set in Germany. I think Tyler, you can probably figure out where we're going with this.
Mr. Mustache Man.
Yeah, that's basically what they were trying to turn Johan into.
Yeah, we won't say that name, but we'll say fuck.
we all say that. But also as well, just for the fact as well, like, again, everything in Monster is connected. Like people think like, oh, Oda is a master of like just having everything connect, everything woven in together. No. Urasawa did it first.
Yeah, it's really seeing a lot of, as we've grown as, manga fans, I'm seeing a lot more people draw inspiration from Urasawa's work, and that is really satisfying. But seeing him not get credited for it from fans is like, no, my sweet summer child. Read this and you'll see where they got it from.
Yeah.
And I just started Asadora, his newest series, and
I am waiting until like a bunch of the volumes are out so that I can actually read it all in one go. Because I found what made Monster work for me so well is the fact that it was already all out, so I could read it and watch it and just have it unfold
yeah.
all at once.
See, I found it. I'm pretty sure we talked about this during the top 10 manga video stream thingy, but I found it specifically because there was an era in which the Sci-Fi Channel was airing a bunch of manga or a bunch of anime, right? And Toko, which is another great short anime, but it was uncompleted. There was a block of Gundam 00 and a block of Monster. And I believe it was Darker Than Black or Requiem for something. It was a TMS anime. So when Monster was airing there is when I really got into it, and then I, just like you, I bought all of the volumes for it, and that era really got me into his work, so I started reading a bunch of his other earlier stuff. And a bunch of people recommended Asadora to me. I will say it is very good. I will say it's not reaching the level. It's not reaching the level for me of Monster, though. At least not currently.
I feel like because I feel like we shouldn't like try to let any of his because Monster is just. It's just a category in of itself now. Like it is like if you were to put like the best manga that have ever been written, like I would say Monster top 5 easily.
Yes. Monster top 5 easily. I will say Monster. Shit, I don't know. I really don't. See,
I was debating like because I've not read Berserk, so I can't really judge it. But I feel because Berserk is so legendary, like does it topple Monster because of that?
I would not say it topples Monster yet. I would say it is in top 10 works of fiction for sure, or at least in the manga realm of fiction, just simply on how legendary it is and the impact it's had on multiple facets of pop culture, right? It has not just influenced manga, it has influenced like it's influenced games, it has influenced like movies even. Like the film industry itself has taken inspiration from Berserk. Like you see references to it, like you see references to Akira and everything. Like it is a legendary piece of fiction. Like the Akira slide is like a pop culture nod anymore with a motorcycle. You see it in everything from like fucking Batman to you see it in like Fast and Furious. You see it everywhere that there has been a bike. You've seen somebody do a like Akira motorcycle slide. Even James Bond did it. Like when you see James Bond do the Akira slide, you know you've hit it, right?
Yeah.
But like I think it would be in that realm, but I don't think on a story level it has hit a Monster level to me anyway. To Joe Schmo down the road, there's definitely a possibility that like Berserk is like his number one. You talk shit on it and you're gonna get beat, but it to me is a very overwhelming task to read something that dark and brutal and not want to seek help afterwards, because there are scenes in Berserk, and that's why I'm going to actually I might as well talk about like Berserk as a whole is one of the darkest works of like dark fiction, like that dark fantasy genre of manga. It makes you want therapy. Like, what happens to Casca in the beginning, the whole, like, all of Griffith being, like, this fucking traitor, betraying his friend, like, there is so much wrong with that universe that really accurately depicts what we know of that era in time, right? So it is spot on the it is a little bit too on the nose for me to be able to recommend it as like a comfort read. But if you want to know how fucked the medieval times were, that's your series. Like live action, watch Game of Thrones, manga, read Berserk.
Yeah.
Just forget the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones exist. I think that's a universal given at this point. When they stray so far away from the books that it's like, fuck you, George R.R. Martin. We're in control now. We're making you the money. Let us write your series for you. And we see how well that was received.
Yeah, and then the ending sucks, and I'm just waiting for the moment George R. R. Martin writes in one of the books, like, the whole last 2 series, that was just a drunken rambling.
I want it to be like written as like Tyrion got too drunk and created his own fan fiction. No, he's come out and said he fought them for like 10 to 12 seasons. So he could finish the final book. And then he's written like the whole story for Elden Ring and,
yes,
and like 3 other series. And my brother in Christ, you're controlling your own fate.
Yeah, so I'm like, dude, like, finish your books before moving on to something else.
I love a creative like that though. I respect somebody that can never. It's what I love about Blarg from the Goons, right? He has so many outlets. And George R. R. Martin's the same way. Like, if you don't know, the Goons are like a scuffed podcast group that does a lot of YouTube content. A lot of it borders on really, really dark comedy. But like, I respect people like that can have like their toes in everything, right? I can't do that. I shut down when I have too many projects on my table. That's why like stuff like the best of for the last couple months hasn't come out. Like, I scrapped the whole other one because I lost my train of thought for what I was doing. Because I've been more focusing on like the subathon. I've been focusing on like a lot of other things. And the moment that I get overwhelmed content wise is the moment I shut down. And it's the same thing with like a lot of the other projects. Like, when I get overwhelmed and doing all these things, like, my brain's like, I want to do all the things but not all at the same time, but I want to do them all at the same time, but like ADHD brain is a bitch, right?
Yeah.
I think that's George R. R. Martin though, but he's able to do all of the things at once. Like, he's written like 4 or 5 other different series while writing Game of Thrones, while also working on the story for Elden Ring, while also, you know, doing like helping with the screenplay for like some of the episodes of the TV show, and producing like a prequel book and a prequel series and all this other shit. Like, I respect it, but at the same time, like, you are not getting any younger, and this is arguably your most famous work, and you need to finish it. It's the same feelings I have towards Togashi, right? Like, you need to finish Hunter x Hunter.
Which,
to be fair, he is doing,
Yeah.
finally. And I think,
which,
like Miora's death and
Yeah.
Takahashi's death really affected him. Like, I need to write my series before I'm next. But yeah, like, anyway, like, Berserk is one of those series, I'm hoping that his team does it justice, because so far, like, I've been letting chapters build up because I'm not feeling it, because it's not his project anymore. But at the same time, like, what you've shown me, like, they're channeling his energy into it, and I love that. But at the same time, I'm like, something feels different, you know? And I think it's because I'm so attached to his writing style, his art style, because I've been reading this series since high school, and it's the same energy a lot of like One Piece fans have. Like if Oda died and his team took over, I feel like they'd have that same like detachment towards the new stuff because it wasn't Oda, you know.
Right.
But I definitely like that is one of my top 5 like Dark series 100%. Tyler's deafened, so I'll let you go, Luke, on your next one.
Yeah, my next one is one that we're both familiar with.
Okay.
Rising of the Shield Hero.
Oh God, yes.
Yes, I had to pick that one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had a fair few. I've still got a fair few to go as well. But yeah, Rising of the Shield Hero, just for how much of a like what the hell kind of first episode, like everything you expect from a isekai is thrown out of the window with Shield Hero.
100%. So, Rising of the Shield Hero, I'm putting my compensation check that I finally got back in the envelope so I can go cash that tomorrow. Those that don't know, I over Memorial Day weekend, I ended up in a car accident and I broke my arm and pretty much shattered my entire elbow. It has taken me 3 months to get my short-term disability check. I just received it. Thurman delivered me my mail. So yeah, congratulations to me. I have an extra $700 for the period I should have had about $3,000.
Wow.
This is America gif right here. I'm not editing this. So yeah, like, welcome to America though, where you get fucked everywhere, with no lube. Anyway, Rising of the Shield Hero, I think was one of those series that stirred a lot of unnecessary controversy. Because,
yeah,
like, there are series that deserve the controversy around them. Looking at you, interspecies reviewers, because you are basically... You are basically porn, and it, like, having read the manga, like, they took a lot of liberties with that anime, like, a lot, but
yeah,
like, Rising of the Shield Hero, they really didn't, you know? They kind of did a lot of one-to-one here, and that's why I respect about it, but at the same time, like, that series, that opening few episodes stirred a lot of the same controversies that like Goblin Slayer did, interspecies reviewers did, and departed from that. Like, it's not really that overtly dark. It's just the plot of it is, right?
Yeah.
It has
Like,
those undertones.
Yeah, like the world is no different from like a traditional fantasy world that you get, but it's just the undertones, like the corruption with the powers, the powers of authority, which of course is not totally political in any way.
Oh, it's just not at all. There's no politics whatsoever. Like, royal kingdom, corrupt nobles, not at all political. We don't talk politics here.
Speaking of politics, if we're still recommending dark manga, I don't know how dark this is, but Vinland Saga.
Thank you.
Well, you could talk about that next, Tyler. But yeah, and what I particularly love about Shield Hero as well is, we still need to finish the first season, Tyler.
Can I say that season 3 is going to be so much worse for you guys? So much worse.
I know. I've looked ahead for what's to come, and what happens to the other 3 heroes in probably season 3 is like, oh my lord,
Drinky for Vexy. Yeah, no. I
yeah,
need
now,
alcohol to fuel what I'm about to talk with.
yeah,
Because
but yeah,
Tyler and I have
now,
the same one.
uh, yeah, now for me, I would say is one of the all-time great isekai protagonists because of the fact, like. But here's the thing: people say like, "Oh, he's overpowered and everything." I'm like, "Did you watch the series because he had to work to get to
Also,
where he
he's
was?"
so to speak in MMO or just RPG terms in general. He's the fucking tank, you idiots. Yes. I have
Yeah,
seen so much discourse about his OPness, and that is his role. He is there to take the burden off of everybody else. He is the shield hero. He is the fucking tank. But
yeah,
yes.
and like I said, he didn't start off with that. He started off at like bottom of the barrel, like being kicked into the dirt,
Mm-hmm.
all because of a lie, and he had to work his way back up to it, and it was pretty much only through the help of like Raftalia, Philo, and Melty that really helped him get back on his feet.
Right. And if it wasn't for
Yeah,
them, you were just not going to have that
yeah,
at all.
and people making complaints about like, oh, where are the strong female characters? And I'm just there like thinking like, look at Shield Hero. You have Raftalia, you have the Queen, you
Mm.
have Mine, who despite being the villain is still powerful.
Right. And you
Which
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Vex, did you see what I messaged you for like a perfect death battle? Asula
I
versus
did.
Mine.
I did. And according to Thurman, we're very much in the line of Azula wins, unless the mine gets a lot more buffs as we go on. But I do like that as a like death battle along with the lines of the same as like Spider Ham versus the fucking pig
Hawk.
Hawk from Seven Deadly Sins. Oh, I would love to revisit the chaos battles at some point if I could get two people into a goddamn Discord call for more than 20 minutes at a time. That isn't a podcast.
Yeah.
uh,
I
but
mean,
like
I'm not doing much other than working. Since I'm taking a semester off of college.
that is good to know. That is great information to
Nice.
hear. My new schedule starting like the middle of September might be like 2:30ish, 3:30ish to like 2 a.m. Um, so and that would be like Sunday to Thursday. So I would have like Friday and on off. Hello, Zangetsu.
So I'll just quickly wrap up what I'm gonna say about Shield Hero, and then I'll let Tyler talk about Finland Saga because I've not read or watched Finland Saga.
Do
But
it.
yeah, quickly. The dark point of Shield Hero, Raftalia's backstory. Like when we get to that episode, Tyler,
Jesus Christ.
you better have a drink on hand because people say what is like the most. Who do you sympathize most with tragic backstory? It's like Raftalia takes the cake. Like before, it was oh um oh what was the name of the creature in Made in Abyss?
Melty, I believe was her name.
Yeah. Before, for me, it was that character, but when I saw Raftalias, I was like, I need a drink after that.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the same level of when you went Denji buddy. I went Raftalia. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, Raftalia's backstory hits like a ton of bricks. I agree with like Melty being one of them. Casca's story is one of them. Fucking Melty, and I really think for those who have watched SAO or read it, Yui, or not Yui, but Yuki is one of them for me as well, because it's just like a so real it hurts moment. Like her whole like condition in that series is like it's a little bit too real. Just on that level. Like, I wouldn't say it's a dark story, but I take that back. Like, the stuff in the Alicization War is dark, but like everything else is like, okay, it's a fucking isekai. You've experienced this 100 times before. And the only thing different is like it's a death game, but even at this point, there's like 75 death game.
There's a lot of death game ones.
Exactly. It's just SAO got super popular.
Danganronpa.
Like, I kind of like Overlord. I know the CGI is like terrible. Everybody knows this. But the thing about it I like is like, yeah, the characters like overpowered, but that's not actually the focus. The focus is like him trying to find like his old friends.
Absolutely.
And through politics, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, Danganronpa is
So-
one of those that's like really like on the nose. Like this is a bit too real.
Yeah, especially when I saw the butter guy.
Oh,
I was just like,
God.
what the hell?
Monokuma is one of my favorite characters in fiction. I don't know what that says about me.
I guess you have a thing for psychotic teddy bears.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. Winnie the Pooh, Monokuma.
So yeah, that's all I had to say on Shield Hero. So I'll let Tyler take the reins for Finland Saga, and I'll be right back.
All right, so okay. So first off, I have only watched season 1 of Vinland Saga, so there's a lot of shit I don't know. So bear with me. Okay.
It doesn't get any
With
better,
Vinland
Tyler.
Saga-
It doesn't get any better. Oh
better
my god.
quality wise or better feels wise?
Better feels. That series,
Are we talking
like,
feels or quality?
feels like that series. What you've experienced
Now,
in season
Vinland Saga-
1.
I remember first watching this. I
Is that
knew
the show about the Vikings?
Mm-hmm.
like
Okay.
Go ahead.
I did not. I expected Thor's to die, but for him to die like that, I was like, Not to mention, I'm pretty sure the series is like very like anti-war.
What?
Even delves into like religion.
What? No.
Never mind.
No. I'm being sarcastic. There are so many people that praise the war and the combat in that, but they don't realize that it is literally just shitting on the fact that there is war, there is politics, there is religion fueling this fucking battle. No. The one thing that out of that whole political thread that I put up on Twitter, just to touch on that for a second, there was a dude in that comment section with a Thorfinn profile picture shitting on the fact that politics was inserted into manga. I'm like, my brother in Christ, you're literally a Vinland Saga fan. You don't understand the message of the series your profile picture is referencing.
Up on.
So while Tyler
I wouldn't
deals,
say I have a.
go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have a problem with like politics, like manga, because that'd be insane. Because I'm a One Piece fan.
Right. You with your
But
Jedi
I have a
Usopp
problem with
profile
it. I'm-
picture.
Who was dressed up as Black Power Rangers?
3 overly political
I-
series.
I have a problem with it, like just lazily like it's supposed to be like, say it's supposed to be a series in which takes place in another world, and you just lazily just insert like our world's like
Oh, 100%.
political discord in it. That I have an issue with.
Yeah, I it's the same issue I have with like modern comics, and I defended like comics in that thread, but I will say there is a line where like you do it well, I'm 100% okay with. But when your idea of like diversifying comics is naming your character Safe Space or Snowflake or what, the New Warriors, just over there to try and kind of like add discourse where it's not fucking needed, that's stupid.
Yeah, I'm back, and I've just got to say, I thought that was a nightmare. I thought I got drunk that day when I read that.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate because I don't think that comic ever saw the light of day. I think the writers I think the writers decided we fucked up. I love the designs of the characters. The designs were fucking dope. You know, like that I was 100% okay
half
with.
and half on the designs.
Like, what were they thinking when they came up with the name? Did they not think they would get backlash?
No, it's just like corporate like version of like inclusiveness. Like they just think of like we should do this, but not think of the quality in which we're doing it.
Yeah, and a lot of dubbing now hits on that same level of cringe.
Oh my goodness, modern day dubs. Like
I love the Skate Infinity dub. Bitches and bros and non-binary hoes is one of my favorite lines out of modern dubbing whatsoever. David Wald is a fucking class act. But I get exactly what goes into a dub too, because I have friends that are in that field. Like, you have to match the lips, you have to match like the verbiage, you have to match all the things. There's a lot that goes into the dub. And that's what makes me respect that field a lot. I, however, do not enjoy things where you insert like modern feminism into a series that is overly sexualized. Where you're like, okay, we need to make this about like how all men are trash. You know, kind of thing.
I remember when they did that in like My Girlfriend Is Like what is it? My Girlfriend Is a Bitch.
My Girlfriend Is a
time.
Alright,
Yeah.
I'm back.
Okay.
I was gonna say My Girlfriend Is a Gal.
Yeah. So that stuff like that, I'm not a fan of.
Just going with
But
the original title.
There is a point where you need to have that discussion in a series like that, yes. But when it's like from episode 1 and you're just throwing it in there, no. Let's dial it back. There are plot points for this to be accurate, and there are plenty of points where you can match the lips to sync to that. So, like, stuff like that I'm not a fan of, or like where you're adding like you said, like politics for the sake of discourse. That's a dumb way to go about it. Yes, 100%.
Right. The issue I have is like they would have like a discussion that is like nowhere near like what the dubbers are like saying, but they'll just insert it anyway. It's like ha ha ha, Dark Biden or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Or there's my favorite example came from like Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, where you're noticeably shrinking the chest of, where you're noticeably shrinking the bust size of a character just to kind of make it less sexualized, and then also throwing 17 feminist lines into it, where your entire plot of the show is the complete opposite of what you're discussing.
I don't even get that in general. It's like, do they not know like some women have like larger chest sizes?
Yeah. Or now where you're censoring blood where it's white and it looks like the character just got jizzed all over.
Yeah.
They censored to make it look white, so now it looks like that part 6 scene of them in the prison covered in.
Have you seen the One Piece Chinese dub scene for Zoro's Nothing Happened scene? It just
It looks like
literally
it looked like a money shot on the face.
Like, so I'm just like, what happened? Nothing happened. There are just so many jokes you can make with that.
Nothing.
Like Zoro was in Does it look like Zoro was in a bukkake? Like,
Yes,
Nothing,
yes.
nothing happened.
Yeah.
oh, it's just a black screen.
Oh my god! Like, there's like 3 versions of that I've been seeing float around. The first one looks like he got a cum shot on the face. The second one is like they just blur him, and the third one is like it's just a black screen when it transitions. I
They
don't.
just blur Zoro. Zoro's like, I now have Japanese censorship techniques.
I honestly want to know what do the Chinese people who have just seen like dubs of anime, what do they do when they get a scrape on their arm? Do they think like, wait, this isn't what the color of blood is?
I don't think
Look,
they
it's
even
not
question
them,
at this point.
It's their stupid. It's their stupid government. Like they
So
know, like at least a good portion of them know, but they can't say
So
anything
can
because the
I'll
government
throw
shoot
some
them on
Kingdom
sight.
Hearts in here, guys. I'll throw some Kingdom Hearts in here. During the Chinese release of Kingdom Hearts 3, because President Z was referred to as Winnie the Pooh, the entire 100 Acre Woods portion of Kingdom Hearts 3, anytime that Winnie the Pooh was on the screen, it was a white light. That's where the whole joke for like the Winnie the Pooh scene in China in South Park came from. Yeah, it's insane. Like the amount of censorship that goes through that country is absurd. I don't understand how all the things go on, but if it is even mildly offensive to any type of their communist nature, it is immediately either censored completely out, doesn't release there, or it has to be heavily edited.
Well, time travel is banned in China, so you can't have Back to the Future or Doctor Who there.
Wait, what? Link
Yeah,
me that.
I will link you that.
We can't have these people wishing of better times
What the
in
fuck?
China.
Allegedly in
Remember when our
Minecraft,
still-
maybe they'd be better off without their presidents. Jesus fucking Christ. I am
go
tipsy,
ahead, sorry.
so go ahead, Tyler. Continue your Vinland Saga story. Oh,
I didn't have much to say else on Vinland Saga. It's good. Go watch it. Pee pee poo poo vagina.
pee pee poo poo vagina. Okay, so just to add on to pee pee poo poo vagina. Great quote. Love it. Clip it. No, like they're like it goes incredibly darker from where you're at to the point where like the anti-war aspect of it is so on the nose that okay, so has anybody read Vagabond here?
I started
No.
reading Vagabond.
So there's a meme going around where like Vagabond, the protag from Vagabond, Guts and Thorfinn are all meeting together because all 3 of them at the end of the day are very much anti-war works of art, right? So they're all meeting over like dinner, brunch, whatever on the battlefield. And that
Nice.
really is like the how fucking dark it gets because in that meme, Thorfinn is like a stump and not much else. Like he's on like a wagon as a stump at this fucking table, and that's how on the nose like the anti-war allegories are in that series. So yeah, enjoy watching everything you think about that series crumble to dust as it continues is all I can say.
All right, nice.
Whoever's next, I've lost track.
I think someone gets who hasn't had a go yet at what series he wants to talk about. Songetsu?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a series you wanted to talk about?
It's like
Really? Because
inherently political.
I hadn't really got into like a new series like I wanted to like watch or like very political, because been like
Basically, all we're talking about right now are like our darkest series and what we recommend in that regard. But for me, I have one that's not really in the manga realm, but I think Tyler can agree with me that The Boys is probably one of the darkest works of fiction on the planet.
Yes, I wanted to talk about The Boys, but it wasn't wasn't like anime or manga, so I was worried it wasn't gonna fit. But yes, The Boys.
So the reason I'm bringing this up is season 4 just began filming, right? And Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays Negan in The Walking Dead, just got cast. And Negan is one of the darkest characters in The Walking Dead. The Boys is a deconstruction of the superhero genre. You are not supposed to worship Homelander, everyone. You're supposed to fucking hate him. That series, I read the comic when it came out because I was getting into a lot of those darker comics at that point, like Invincible, Walking Dead, to some degree Ghost Rider, Punisher, Deadpool. I know Deadpool's a comedy character, but a lot of his plots are very, very dark in their own right. I mean, this is a dude that wants to fuck death and die, essentially. At least during that run, that was his goal, was to fuck death and die. And
he got tricked into like having superpowers due to the fact that he wanted a quote unquote cure for his late term cancer.
Yeah, and at that point you're just like, oh, my buddy, no, that's not how that works. This is a Weapon X program. You're fucked. But no, like The Boys at that time, the comic is objectively dark, gritty, and bad. It's not well written. The series is
Fucking awful.
The series is so much better, and that's what I respect about it, because Gareth Ennis is a fantastic writer in his own right, but I don't think he gave a single solitary fuck while writing the comic at all. He's just like,
It definitely
Go ahead.
Go ahead. It definitely felt like Garth, because I think it was said that Garth Ennis hates superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he was brought on the right to Punisher, I believe. So it definitely felt like Garth Ennis had the Boys comics felt like his superhero murder fantasy.
Basically venting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how many of you have read the comic Crossed?
I have not.
I've heard of it. I've never read it.
So,
Crossed I know is pizza.
Okay, so Crossed is another very dark deconstruction of another genre. I don't know if it's supposed to be deconstruction of humanity or deconstruction of the zombie nature or the cannibalistic nature that is inbred in humans, but it's another dark work of comics, and I think it was objectively better written than The Boys. I don't think it will ever. There have been 2 attempts to bring it to life. One of them was shopped, I believe, to Amazon Prime as well, and the other one was to Apple TV. And I don't know how much of this is just rumors. You can correct me in the comments, crucify me, or anything else if I am wrong. But I think it was a better written version of the same deconstruction. It is probably one of the most fucked things I've ever read. And I have read a lot of fucked things. Like, it is like hillbilly, occult, cannibals during a pandemic, essentially. is the most PG approved for YouTube way to discuss this comic, because this comic is also one of those like medias that like the second you list it in the tag or in the description, it's immediately like demonetized. Go read it if you want to seek therapy. But to the same degree as The Boys, like, The Boys not... You're right, Garth Ennis was very much, like, anti-superhero, and that's why he wrote it. It's essentially like, what if Superman was a villain? And was, like, anti-human, anti-everything else out there, and I just wanted...
said the N-word.
And said the N-word, while also being technically an illegal alien. But like, yes, there's a very, and I find it very funny that all the right wing attach themselves to the fucking Homelander. But like, no, like this series. Go watch.
Talk about the show. I thought you were talking about the comics, Homelander.
Yeah, very much like go watch The Boys on Amazon Prime. I watched the Hero-gasm episode while I was at work.
What?
I did.
Why would you do that?
And I did not stop laughing for the whole like, because nobody gives a shit at my former employer. Most of us would just watch anime and all sorts of other shit there.
For context, Hero-gasm has a guy get.
Say it. We're an hour and 30 in. You're good.
Let's say spoilers for season 3. Hero-gasm is the. Let's see. A guy gets fucking jizzed on, like Konami.
I wanted to avoid spoilers at that time. I'm like, you know what? I'm in the back corner. No one's going to see what I'm watching. I am good. And I did not stop laughing for an hour and 30 minutes, basically.
Or somebody did like see you like watching. It's just like,
I'm not going to say anything.
You're just watching Bukkake again. It's like,
this is just typical Vax. You know what? They've opened their OnlyFans at work. I'm good. I don't want to question this. No, but like that series, I swear, I love how far they're willing to adapt it a one for one while also making it objectively better. And this is my hope. This is my broad hope, because I've seen the set photos from it, and Amazon Prime got the rights to the Fallout TV series, if you're not aware. I've seen the set photos. I am 100% hoping they put as much care into that series as they have The Boys. Because everything I have seen from the Fallout TV series so far is phenomenal. Like, that is something I am, like, stalking on social media. I want to make sure this is a great adaptation for one of my favorite franchises. And I know the writing in it's dog ass. I know. Like, especially the first two Fallouts. The writing is objectively shit. But they got the super duper mark, like a 1-for-1 recreation of it. They've got Red Rocket Gas Station 1-for-1 recreated so far. It looks like they're putting that same amount of care into it, and I love that. And I know Amazon is a horrible company. I used to work for them. But at the same time, I know they can throw a literal blank check at these projects and make it good. So that's what I'm hoping. But yeah, go watch The Boys, everyone. Like that.
Go watch The Boys.
Don't read the comics, watch it.
now I kind of want to do both.
The comics are that bad.
I have to see.
They're all available. They're all available on Comixology Unlimited.
I mean, it can't be worse than the comic about the dog.
The dog N-word? Or... Because
that one.
That one? Okay. Yeah. Because there is a dog inward comic, and I question whoever made it. The whole goal of that is to R word their dad. I have read the first couple chapters of that.
You know who probably wrote it?
Who?
Fujimoto.
I would not be shocked if he wrote that under a pseudonym. At this point, nothing that man does surprises me. But whoever wants to go next, recommend your dark series.
I'll all right, I'll do one that's not that would be a surprise, but just hear me out. It's not a dark. In fact, it's not. It's not. People who watch it will be like, "How is this dark?" But because on a surface level, but underneath it, it is pretty dark when you think about it, and that is Red Dwarf.
I can see that in the same sense that Doctor Who is dark.
Yeah, because Red Dwarf is more comedy based.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sci-fi. It's a comedy series. It's sitcom set in space, but if you look, but they don't shy away from the darker aspects of that of what's happening because it's literally about the last human left alive, and there's actually a scene where he's just this is all in like the first season where he's in like a bar and he's flashing back to where he had his drinking buddies, and it's basically like how Senku was at his father's grave because he's like thinking like I'm alone now, stuck in space, 3 million years in the future, with all the people that I partied with, they're all dead now. So yeah, I wouldn't. It's not really dark in the berserk sense, but just the undertones of just like this is a sitcom about the last human left alive, in space with people he can't really get on with. So yeah, I would say that is pretty dark, and there are moments throughout the series that are just like, oh my god, this is like, is this meant to be a comedy or something? Because Tyler knows it, like the main sort of like douchebag of the series, Rimmer, or as you like to call him, Tyler, Rimjob. He has got to be like one of the most messed up characters ever in a comedy. Yeah, because literally, his father, when he was younger, wanted him and his brothers to get into the space course so badly that he'd be like, "Okay, I'm going to ask you questions. If you get them wrong, you don't get any food." To the point that he nearly died of malnutrition.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
it's gone so. Yeah, that is literally his messed up backstory to the point that he is so determined to be successful that he cannot like anyone, including himself.
That's pretty fucked.
And I'm just that is pretty like he cannot love anyone. He's sticking in the mud, and even when he tries to be good, even when he tries to be life of the party, he's just so incredibly boring. Like his idea of fun is like, oh, I'm gonna put on Morris dancer music.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's what I like about it's a comedy with a story as well. Like it does have a story that's really that really progresses, moves along, and helps develop the characters. Because some comedies, for one in particular, The Simpsons, the characters never change.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue with a lot of these long running.
And even some like comic books, like some comic book characters, they.
Looking at you, Green Lantern.
At you, Detective Conan. But it's not really dark or anything. It's just that long running.
And another thing that's dark about Red Dwarf is that they touch on the more messed up side of religion, because the main character's cat evolves over the 3 million years while he's in suspended animation, and his idea of a retirement plan on Fiji became the cat people that evolved from his cat, their image of heaven, to the point of a war, war between different factions over something incredibly stupid. And when he hears about this, he's like, "Oh my god, I feel bad now."
Yeah.
But
I feel like a
well, I
lot
will
of those
say, like,
longer serialized start. A lot of these longer serialized sci-fi shows get into that. Like, they need to potentially kind of evolve into that. And I feel like Red Dwarf and Doctor Who have managed that the best. I don't think... I think Star Trek has enough of a deviation in their series from series to series of, like, this takes place in this time frame, this takes place in this time frame, this takes place in this time frame. And then you have Star Wars, which is like one canonical timeline, and then potentially, like, we'll retcon this down the road if we need to. Whereas, like, Red Dwarf...
the problem with that one...
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say, the problem with Star Wars, like, they had that leeway with, like, the fan stuff, and they could have, like, picked and choose, like, which parts of that could have worked for them, but they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and just to give my closure on, like, Red Dwarf, is that the last Red Dwarf piece of media that was done, which was, like, it's weird because it's like it's supposed to be season 13, but it was more like a feature length film, but they still called it, like, the 13th iteration of Red Dwarf. And I feel like at this point, like, if they wanted to do another one, that's great, but that last one I feel like was a perfect cap for the series, because it tied back into things from the first season, and wrap them up in a nice little neat bow.
Yeah, and that's good. That's having finality in those types of series is a great thing. That's the same issue I have with the resurrection of Futurama, right? Because every time we bring back Futurama, like, you have a nice little, like, I'm going to cry my heart out because this is over, and then you just dig it up from its fucking grave. It's the same problem I have with Star Trek, right? Like, you have ended this series 87 fucking times. Well, let it go, you know? And then it's like, but money, though. Money. I need more money.
Yeah.
The Roddenberry estate needs more money. And now, I don't know if you guys paid attention to the massive acquisition over the last couple weeks, but the Tolkien estate is now part of the Embracer Group. Embracer Group is a holding company that basically scoops up, like, dying franchises and resurrects them. They got, like, the whole Western division of Square Enix recently, and now they have, like, limited run games. The Tolkien estate, they have a bunch of other shit. So now they basically have the rights to publish whatever they want for game-wise, at least, I believe. There might be some more caveats to that in that regard. To anything Lord of the Rings related. And that's the same feelings I have towards that. Like, The Hobbit didn't need to be 3 movies.
No, it didn't.
And arguably, like, this second era show on Amazon Prime is interesting, to say the least, from what I've seen from it. I also am not a fan of Embracer Group now, arguably being bigger than EA. Because that's already terrifying enough when you think about it, EA being as big as it is, or Activision being as big as it is, and now that being part of Microsoft, yeah, like... So it'll be interesting to see what we see from the Tolkien estate moving forward after this Rings of Power show and whatever it has.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes it's better to let things go. And Simpsons,
yeah,
Family
and-
Guy, American Dad, all those need to go.
Yeah, and like I said, Red Dwarf, I feel like last one ended in a sense where this could be the finale to it. Like they don't need to wrap up everything like do they get back to Earth or not, because I feel like at this point like leave it up to ambiguity. I feel like the only thing that they could potentially do if they wanted to do another one is resort, because season 8 ended on a cliffhanger which was never resolved. So I feel like if they were to do another one, they'd probably wrap that up, because it's been a subject of debate for ages in the fandom. Even one of the creators has been like, okay, this is what happened at the end of series 8, and it just cuts off in the sense like we're never going to know. But I feel like if they do another one, that would probably be the last major plot point that needs to be addressed in the series. And I feel like after that would be it. Because the cast themselves, it started in the 80s, Red Dwarf, and they're not getting any younger. So I feel like to do one more potential, like, hey, let's do it as a celebratory of the series, wrap it up, and then that's it. We can close the book on this chapter.
Yeah, and see, that's the good thing, right? Sorry, I just got scratched by my cat. The thing with Doctor Who for me, right? And I know this is going to be a great debate in the questions, is like Doctor Who needs that. It desperately needs that at this point, because there are so many discourses regarding whatever you have. I know that with the way you've created the plot, you can have the series for ad infinitum, right? You can have it go on for fucking ever, just because of the plot you've given yourself, right? You have an ethereal being who can infinitely resurrect himself based on the plot dictation. But at the same point, you have kind of scraped the bottom of the barrel of the bottom of the barrel for plot points in the story itself. Because I've watched Red fall in and out of love with Doctor Who. I've watched quite a few of my friends fall in and out of love with Doctor Who since the 11th Doctor. And then obviously 13 was like a massive divide in the fandom, because female being faceless god being that has no place in the universe. Let's be realistic. At this point, like, the Time Lord does not have a gender, nor a race, nor a biological fucking sex.
And here's the thing. Time Lord itself is not a race; it's a rank. The actual race for the Time Lord people is Gallifreyan. It's like saying police officer is a species. It's not. It's a rank.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and people like saying like, "Oh, the series has gone woke because there's a Black Doctor now." I'm just thinking like, you do realize that the 5th Doctor, Peter Davison, is actually mixed race because he's half black.
Yeah, well, here's the thing with that, right? So the discourse over Sandman, right? Those beings are ethereal, right? So they have no gender, race, nor creed, nor religion, nor anything in that series. And immediately when a black woman was cast as death, they're like, "Oh, it's gone woke." And I'm much like, did you read the fucking comic? Also, she had white skin, like pure, like Snow White skin in the comics. Like, that is not a hue of human. I'm sorry. You can't claim the woke card when you have Snow White for fucking skin over here. when a normal human being doesn't have that hue. Nor can you say that the being of Lucifer has any fucking semblance of a gender nor a race, when even in the Bible, like, it's up to interpretation depending on the fucking version you're coming from, right? I don't believe there was ever a pronoun attached to Lucifer themselves. But at the same time, like, Doctor Who has ran its course in that regard. Like, you have very few places you can go in the whole timeline at this point. So I feel like it's about time for it to wrap up. But I realize, like, that diehard fandom at the same time is going to be like, well, what about us? Like, we still have attachment to this franchise. And I feel like that's where those audio dramas really come into play. Like, you have those, like, tiny little plot holes that aren't really episodes, but at the same time, like, you can write them. Like, even David Tennant and a couple of the companions are doing one here.
Yeah.
I think for, like, the next couple months. I think it's supposed to come out around Halloween. But at the same time, like, yeah, like, you can't overstay your welcome as a franchise at that point, you know. And fucking Simpsons is so goddamn self-aware at this point that it is addressing its ability to predict the future in its new season.
Yeah, and speaking of overstaying its welcome, that's another thing I'll respect Red Dwarf for as a series. It's like it's had periods where it's gone away, it's come back, and it's gone away, and it's come back, but it's not stayed for ages, because it had like the original run of seasons 1-6. Then there was a 3-year gap between season 6 and 7, and then there was like after season 8 there was like a 12-year gap before we got a special, and then like another 3 years before we got seasons 10 to 12, and then another 3 years before we got the 13th iteration. So it's kind of come and gone in droves, but never overstayed.
Mm-hmm.
Thing about The Simpsons is I feel like at this point it's literally a parody of itself. Before it was the quote unquote trendsetter. Now it's like looking for other. It's looking at its peers.
Yeah,
for ways of like looking, quote unquote hip with the kids.
Yeah, and ironically, South Park has become more of the trendsetter now.
Yeah, and South Park has done it better at this point. You know,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like, I'm hypocritical in the sense where I think that South Park doesn't need to go away because it has the ability to run on a 7-day schedule, whereas these other shows plan themselves like seasons in advance, and at that point are dated by the same time that they come out. So, like, the Lady Gaga episode, for example, is like arguably the lowest point in the Simpsons timeline, right? Because at that point,
we do not talk about the Lady Gaga.
But at that point,
a lot of people talk about it.
But at that point, like, that is so dated. That reference was so dated at that point that it is the low point, and that's why so many people talk about it. But at the same time, it is one of those like forbidden episodes to do in reviews, right? Because it's like, no matter what, you'll have either the Lady Gaga fans me, and then they're like, yeah, but she did a great job with it. She might have done a great fucking job with it, but at the same point, the plot in that shit doesn't even matter at that point, because the controversy regarding her appearance at that point was so far removed that you don't need to do anything regarding it.
Yeah, the problem with the episode is they just lazily insert her in, and then she takes over the entire series just by her existing.
Yeah, and at that point, like, think about, like, they did the same thing.
It's such a weird episode. It's like it reminds me of that weird episode of American Dad in which like that this Korean guy like buys the rights to the show.
Yeah, it was a dude from like Kim's Convenience, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Is it all just Kids of Wayne's World?
I have no idea. But at the same time, like, there was an episode of the same. There was an episode of the same vein back when they had Metallica come in, at the in The Simpsons, right? And it was so self-referential bringing Lady Gaga in there that it's like you're nodding to a previous episode at that point, while also ruining the entire plot of that episode and trying to stay relevant because it's a pop culture reference for this current year. Like, the fuck? And then meanwhile, South Park back in the 90s had Korn in, and it made more sense than the entire Lady Gaga episode did for Simpsons. We're probably gonna be wrapping up pretty soon. We have the corn noises in the background from Tyler.
It's actually pretty good.
No.
Oh man, but
It almost sounds spot on. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Practice.
the fact that you practice that has me a little concerned for your sanity, but we'll talk about that off stream. But no, like, I don't know. Like, there are so many franchises that just need to fucking go away, and I'm starting to feel like the MCU is one of them. Because what was Phase 4, everyone? What was Phase 4?
What was Phase 4?
17
What
TV
was
shows. Shang-Chi, Eternals.
I feel like okay.
Shang-Chi was good.
I do fear that, like.
Go ahead.
What was that? I was about to say, I fear that, I don't know, maybe it's just like higher ups at Disney that's like forcing the Marvel squad to like churn out shit for Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. So, just before we get to the next like dark series, I want to address this. Like, Loki would have been a better movie than Black Widow, right? Well, I think we can all agree on that. Like, there was so much more plot relevance to the Loki Disney Plus series than there was the Black Widow, which addressed like what happened in Budapest. Also, we don't care because she's
I'm
dead.
so disappointed.
Like,
Yeah.
Black Widow could have been
Like,
the Disney
I was
Plus.
so looking forward to it too.
Yeah, Black Widow could have been the Disney Plus show, and Loki should have been the movie there. WandaVision should have been a fucking movie. As much plot was shoved into that Disney Plus show. And Eternals could have been a Disney Plus show. You know? I get that.
I feel like that Doctor Strange movie was kind of like WandaVerse, like season 2, but a movie.
Yeah, and now we're getting Agatha
That's
as a TV show as well. Which, okay, I guess.
Which is kind of weird, like just one of those like random just side characters just pop up like every now and then. Like back in the day in comics, is getting like so much focus. It's kind of weird.
Right. And that's the same way I feel about things like Moon Knight. Like, I love Moon Knight as a character, but unless he's going to pop up in a movie, why do we care, you know? And Oscar Isaac killed it. Like, just everything aside, like, he killed it as fucking Moon Knight, but at the same point, like, why? When we're reintroducing Daredevil, and Daredevil should have been a fucking Disney Plus series for leading into Spider-Man, and like all of Phase 4 seems so fucking disjointed that I'm just like, make me care again. Like, make me care again. Like, I love the MCU, but I am falling out of love with the MCU the further Phase 4 comes along. I'm hoping that Phase 5, I'm sure we'll do a whole fucking video of some sort about this once Wakanda Forever is out. Because that's the last thing for Phase 4. But I could not give less of a shit about half of Phase 4. Like, Eternals, fucking Thor: Love and Thunder, fucking like I'm sure Wakanda Forever will be good, but I could not give less of a shit about Shuri taking up the mantle potentially when her actress is so problematic that they'll probably recast her at this point, or they'll
What's wrong with her actress?
She's anti vaccine.
and which made the whole production for that movie a massive shit show. Yeah. Like the anti-vax nature of Shuri's actress made that movie take so long that it got delayed. Because it was supposed to come out before Love and Thunder originally. And they just shifted those two dates to kind of meet production needs. Which I think is why Thor: Love and Thunder was so seemingly rushed. Like, some of the CGI scenes in that was just like, that seems like last second production. But yeah.
But I will say one thing: Love and Thunder had Super Bunny.
Super Bunny and Heimdall's kid was pretty dope, I will say. But again, like arguably mid. And it was a 6 out of 10 movie. Shang-Chi was really good, which I did not I went into that movie expecting nothing. And that was one of my favorites out of Phase 4. I love the Matt Fraction Hawkeye series and like that whole line of comics, and I could not have cared less about the Hawkeye Disney Plus show. And then the fucking What If, I think, was probably the best use of animation I've seen since Star Wars Visions out of Disney. I think that they have focused all of their animation attention into both the Star Wars department and the Marvel department. That is why all of the other Disney movies the last couple of years have been so dog shit. Because they wanted those two products to be really good. That's my objective opinion.
If only that attitude went towards like the two of the the last two like big Star Wars movie.
Right? Like if episode 8 and
Yeah.
episode 9 would have been better. Ann
Mainly
Arbor,
episode 9.
how dare you? How dare you, Ann Arbor? Episode 9 was okay, but
Episode 9 was painfully mediocre. I fell asleep during it twice.
Like, here's how I would have done here's how I would have done reworked the original the sequel trilogy. All right,
Mhm.
you have Finn be the Jedi and have him be a connection to someone other than Anakin or Obi-Wan, or have him be related. Have him be related to someone like, I don't know, Keanu Mundi, because Keanu Mundi had children. He had a family, so have him be a relation to that character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem with like these movies, like they had so much build up for like certain characters, and then the next movie and they just drop it completely. Like, what was the point?
Yeah, and also as well, if you want to keep Kylo Ren, like, I'm doing this like keeping as much of the original cast as possible. So like, have Kylo Ren go all out in honing his father's legacy by actually trying to resurrect the Emperor. Don't have the Emperor be a clone. Actually have Kylo Ren try to resurrect the Emperor.
Yeah. Like, and it's possible in the old Star Wars canon. Like, resurrection is a possibility. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like there
I'm
is
gonna
so much that they erased from the old canon that would have made that so much better that it almost makes
just
it
doing extra work for. Oh, sorry, cutting you off.
Yeah, like
And
they
I'm gonna
could have brought some of the some of the canon back, right? Like the old EU. And it would have made so much more sense to the actual plot of these movies. Like, you have brought Grand Admiral Thrawn back, for example, for Star Wars Rebels, right? Heir to the Empire, that whole trilogy would have made a better sequel trilogy than what was written. Objectively.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah, definitely.
And the fact that you erased that and then brought the same goddamn author back in to write a whole nother section of Thrawn fiction to this new canon shows that you fucked up. But at the same time, you don't want to admit to the fuck up that those books would have made a better post Return of the Jedi canon, or in between Empire and Jedi, or whatever slot you want to put these movies in, that makes the fandom laugh at you. And as Disney, that hurts, because at that point, you know that the entire fandom is laughing at you. So not only are you going to retroactively rewrite the sequels as they're going on, you're going to rewrite the entire before canon with the New Order bullshit that they're doing, right? That's basically Knights of the Old Republic, but make it Disney.
And that's another thing. Don't have the First Order, just have the Knights of Ren be the antagonistic faction.
Right. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They don't even want to use their own fucking factions, which is mind-boggling to me. Like, you wrote these characters. Use them. But they don't even want to fucking do that. They know they wrote shit. And
also give Finn a definitive love interest.
It's
Like, don't be doing this flip flop
no,
shit.
we can't do that, Pancake, because you know why? Because China won't like it.
Yeah, but also as well, just to say, because I've obviously played the Old Republic MMO. Like the final, like I'm gonna get into this when we eventually do the hardest boss battles, but that final battle in the MMO against the Emperor of that time, like Vitiate, that is essentially, I feel, what the sequel trilogy finale should have been, because you have so many different Jedi and so many different characters going up against the Emperor all at once.
But see, there's only 2 fucking Jedi at that point, really. You had Luke, but oh wait, he's a Force ghost. And you have Rey, the Mary Sue, according to the fucking fandom. But realistically, she's not really a Mary Sue. You just don't want a woman to be strong and powerful.
Well, I feel like she's kind of like strong and powerful in the wrong way. It's like just telling us rather than doing.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I would.
Well, didn't Luke also have that problem where?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's.
But they never
ahead,
they had
Vex.
never expected Star Wars to be this popular back then when they made it. So they made him the strong, overly powered character, and then this franchise took off to this astronomical level that it's at now. And it's kind of bit them in the ass as they've progressed as a franchise repeatedly. That's why George Lucas is like, y'all take this, I'm gonna retire kind of energy. And because look at how people shit on him for trying to write the prequels, right? And then you look at his sequel trilogy that he had planned, and you're like, oh my god, this is actually worse than what Disney wrote. But you almost want to think about, like, I think this would be better received if it was a Lucas production than if it was a Disney production, because people already hate on Disney for being fucking Disney.
Yeah, and also as well, at least if it was Lucas's trilogy idea, at least we would know, okay, this is building to something, because that's the advantage that the prequels have over the sequels. It's like we know what it's building towards. It's building towards Anakin becoming Darth Vader, and a lot of people like just look at it on a surface level. If you look throughout the series, see like how that actually comes to be, because Palpatine manipulates him constantly throughout the series, and the Jedi always like holding him back.
It's pretty easy for him to manipulate. It's just like, all right, they won't make him a Jedi Master. The person like is his mentor could have easily like freed his mom from slavery, chose not to, to take advantage of him.
Yeah, so it's clear. It's
that's it.
Oh yeah. So it is. So it was very clear right from the beginning. Like there was a clear plan for the prequel trilogy. There was no clear plan for the sequel trilogy.
Right, and they trapped themselves in a sense on both regards, though, because they kind of had that plan to go from like 3 to 1, but they didn't have the plan to go from 1 to 3. You know, you had the setup for like Darth Vader and Anakin being Darth Vader, but you didn't really have a lot of the coming from squalor kind of things that they did. But at the ass end of that, right, at like 6 to 9, there was nothing. Like, you thought the story was done. And then you had the EU kind of filling in like little tiny political plot lines along the way. And what happened to like this generic Jedi that taught this other generic Jedi that taught this other generic Jedi in the early set for the EU. And that's why the EU became such a jumbled mess, and that's why it's kind of a good thing that Disney rewrote all of the canon, so to speak. But at the same time, like, they erased 20, 30 years worth of canon to the fans, and that deserved a lot of the blowback that it got in its own right. But you also, if you have read all of the EU, you know it's a fucking mess. It's like reading Warhammer lore. Like, there is no...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There is no sanity in that shit. Like, there might have been signed off by a fucking committee, sanity, but at some point you realize that it's like, yeah, fuck it. That one's good. Whatever. We don't care anymore. Because when you have goddamn zombie virus bullshit going on, you realize that they quit caring. Oh, shit, man. I think
virus, I didn't know they had spice in the game.
there is a trilogy of books that is essentially fucking Dead Island in space.
Okay, I was wondering because a bunch of my friends have gotten super into 40K recently.
Yeah, it's not just like
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, and 40K, my god, the universe for 40K makes Magic the Gathering's lore look like a goddamn baby book. Like, baby's first, like...
Wait, Magic has lore?
Yes, it
does.
does.
A bunch of it. I'm not reading it.
I quit reading it when they introduced fucking Planeswalkers to the actual card game. I quit reading it. I bought the fucking hardcover book where they bundled a goddamn Planeswalker with it. And I'm like, I am done. I quit. They used to bundle in every fat pack a novel, right? Like an actual like Wizards of the Coast novel. And then when they introduced Planeswalkers to the card game, they made a hardback with Jace on the front. And that's when I stopped caring about the lore of Magic the Gathering.
There was a novel just purely on Pot of Greed. That'd be hilarious.
Oh god, yes. But like they're in 40K, I have not dabbled too much into it. I'm more of the video game aspect of it. But a bunch of my friends play the actual like TTRPG. And one of my buddies has, like, you know, my manga shelf that I showed in the room tour? like the big long one. He has that dedicated to just like novels on 40K. I'm not kidding. And I'm like, how? I can't even sit through a novel anymore. I use Audible. And he has that on just like all 40K lore. Like from when the game basically started to now. It's insane. But anyway, like I think we're on the final, like for everyone, Dark series before we get too far off. If you want Dark, read 40K anything. I will say like that is probably one of the darkest timelines in any fiction, but I don't objectively know enough about it to say anything on it. I should have my buddy in here right now, but no. I'm not adding another person to this Discord call right now, especially when he's at work. I think mine, I know this is going to get a lot of flack. But I have to say, in just that's an alcohol burp. Just a sheer political spectrum level, I have to say Code Geass. And I recommend the series a lot, but I have never seen a more accurate depiction of future war for the time of it than that. Because at the time this series was coming out, it was like the near future, right? And you had the very near future of like 2010 at the time. And it was like 2 years in the future when it was coming out dub-wise. Johnny Young Bosch's Little Lucia is still one of my favorite performances of all time. But
Johnny Young Bosch just nails everything.
Yeah, that's it. And like the actual protag like levels, like the man has done all the good things. And having met him at a Comic-Con here relatively recently and hearing his story of like how he got into voice acting, it's like really emotional. If you've ever had the chance to meet him and he does a panel, like listen to how he got into voice acting and you'll understand what I mean by that. Because the dude was
you lucky fucking bastard.
Like the dude was objectively homeless and got lucky and then got into voice acting and then is becoming one of the most prolific voice actors of all time. So yeah, it's pretty inspiring. And he admits like now it's basically impossible to get into it the way he did. So like actually hearing a true story and him saying like, don't get your hopes up to get into it the way I got into it is very, very good. Because a lot of people are like, I'll just throw my fucking voice out there everywhere and do every fan project, everything, and think that they're going to get into voice acting for like fucking Funimation. You're not. And there's a nuance to getting into it at this point, and it's very difficult to get into those big spots. But at that time, you now see like the exact acts of war that were in there, aside from the mechs, like the directed missile strikes. We have drones now.
Don't worry, it'll happen eventually.
Oh yeah, it'll happen eventually. Like we have Japan and China and I think America all building mechs at this point.
No, I was just quoting the fact that billionaires want to go to Mars, and that's literally the start of Gundam.
Yeah, it is. It's very terrifying to get down to how close that we're getting to like actual like UC Gundam timelines. But we have like the directed missile strikes via drones now. We have like all of the political aspirations for like some world leaders to actually fall in line with the Code Geass timeline. And to some degree, like even falling into like UC Gundam timeline at this point. It's very fascinating to see how fiction becomes reality at some points. But the personal drama between like Lelouch and his father, and the political drama between like his ranked guard and all of the bullshit that happened in that timeline, happens to be one of my favorite works of fiction to see how discrimination fuels war on that level, where we have like the Japanese citizens reduced to a number. Like they are the 11s, right? They don't have a country anymore. It's all part of the Grand Emperor, the Empire of Britannia. You have that, where we're seeing like a little bit of a parallel between that and Russia and Ukraine at this point. Not to that full degree yet, but very close to how that war happened. And us, of course, in America, being the world's police, getting our asses involved in it, because we have to get involved in every fucking conflict, regardless of any sanity. But like,
money.
Because money and oil and drugs and gold and religion and all the lovely things that our country supposedly stands for, but we lie in the face of it.
Let's be honest, it has nothing to do with religion. It's just mostly the money.
Oh, absolutely.
That's every government. Like they want as much money as possible.
And like we can make Armalite and a couple other weapon companies over here some money, and that'll fuel our contracts with them. And yeah, but like seeing like the parallels of that as we've slowly progressed to the 2020s, it's wasn't very far off even when that series was airing, which is the terrifying part of it. Because we were starting to see like drone technology reach that level while it was airing, and you're like, oh shit. Well, maybe we're, a little too on the nose for war anime. And then Iron-Blooded Orphans came out, and it's like, yeah, no, we're not even hiding it anymore. Like in the Gundam universe. Shit. If you want to, like, really on-the-nose war anime and it be mecha, watch Iron-Blooded Orphans. But if you want an actual masterpiece of, like, mecha and political intrigue and, all of the fucking superpowers that the Geass brings, that's the terrifying part of it. Could you imagine any government official with a Geass? Please no. Please no.
Thinking about Marjorie Taylor Greene with a Geass is terrifying. I don't even know what a Geass is.
Basically the ability to bend the will of the.
On crack.
Yeah, that. The ability to build a.
Robot?
The ability to.
The Tachi, like Genjutsu, but it's on crack.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was that one guy that was with Itachi? Like that guy's stuff.
Oh God.
Same?
No. Just think the ability to bend the willpower of whoever you use it on to the absolute nth degree one time. So say.
Oh, so Conqueror's hockey. That's one-time use.
Yes, basically. So. The most bullshit reason Lelouch used it was he was testing his ability for it, and he wanted somebody to mark a wall every day for infinity. So they're out there with a chalk stick marking the wall every day that they're at school, just so he could test the ability of it. That never stopped, to our knowledge, in the actual like canon of the show. That never stopped. That person is still out there marking the wall of the school with a chalk stick every day. Or
like 1 mark per day, or like
1 mark per day.
Like out there every day.
Out there every day, marking it once a day. Just.
I like to imagine at some point that person like accidentally create an alchemist mark.
Well, thankfully, it's just a straight line, as if it's like a fucking tally mark, basically. So, like, they would know how many days it would last for. But this also has the ability to have somebody turn their service pistol on themselves. And just, I command you to die, and they just execute themselves there on the battlefield. It's very much a terrifying power. I kind of, in my own sick, twisted way, wish I had it. which is why Red made that famous like little shit post that used to exist somewhere on our social media of like where it's me with all the old Controlled Chaos cast members, and I'm just Lelouch leading my drove of people. I wouldn't use it for the ways that he had it there, but I would very much like to be like, Joe Biden, forgive our student debt completely, not just 10K of it, shit like that, you know. But yeah, oh, that's gonna have me some questions from the FBI or some shit. But like that's a series that has that dark undertones and the war aspect of things, but it's not really overtly dark. The worst of it is like watching like the unfoldings between C2 and Lelouch, seeing how the power of the Gios can corrupt absolutely, stuff like that. Obviously, like having ungodly power like the Gios turns Lelouch into basically the antagonist of the series, to which he had already created a contingency plan with Suzaku, yada yada yada. Depending on the timeline, he either dies there at the end of it, or you know the rebuild of Code Geass movies, which are not what they're called, but like they have like recap movies of the whole series that are essentially like the rebuild saga of Evangelion stuff. They have a timeline where Lelouch lives, and then it carries on into the R3 movie and the new canon that's part of the 10-year plan for the franchise. I'll let whoever go next.
I'll just chime on, like, that spinoff with his sister is weird.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of weird things in that franchise. The really really weird one is there's a Alice in Wonderland parody that they did, and it's very much Alice in Wonderland but make it Code Geass. I also have the C2 figure of it where she's the Cheshire Cat, because of course I do.
Is she holding, like, a box of Pizza Hut pizza?
No, she's not, which disappointed me. There's so much product placement in that series, it's fucking hilarious. Oh, man. It reminds me, like, in the
Blu-ray, I'm sorry.
it reminds me, like, in the MCU, like, they have a Samsung contract, an iPhone contract, and they have, like, an Subaru contract. So, like, every car in there that gets destroyed is a fucking Subaru. At least for, like, the first phase of the MCU.
For all I could.
Oh, man. Luke or Tyler, do you have a final
Oh yes, I have a final one. Like, if we're talking about dark series, like, I have got to go with the one from my childhood, The Animals of Farthing Wood. Yeah, you want to talk dark? You talk dark. You talk about Animals of Farthing Wood, because to give you some context, Vex, it has more deaths in it than Dr. Stone and Promised Neverland put together. More on-screen deaths.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so basically, it's based on a book series, which the guy who wrote it must have feared that the Nazis would rise again, because there's so much like discrepancy in that series where it's like, oh, what is this place called? White Deer. That means that means it's only home to white deers. None of you like riffraff here. That's basically what a deer says to a fox in one of the episodes. So yeah, but the general concept of it is that it's about a group of animals whose home is destroyed, so they go to a nature reserve, and then it's just death, 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 death. But what I love most about the series is that it's one of those series where it doesn't talk down to kids. It's definitely not a series that talks down to kids, and there's very much characters that go on arcs throughout the series, because it's a short series. It's only like 39 episodes long, and there's lots of overarching character arcs that you see from the beginning of the series to where they are at the end of the series. You see how much they've actually changed. But of course, the main thing about it is the overabundance of just like hierarchy. We have prejudice happening in this series. We have racism. Racism is definitely a strong point in the series, particularly in the second series, where you get introduced to the Blue Foxes and their clan against the Fothingwood Red Foxes, which basically boils down to Romeo and Juliet in the end.
Wait, so you're telling me there's a literal blood versus Crip dilemma going on with foxes?
Yes, there is pretty much, and made even better where the main villain fox from season 2 is called Scarface.
Okay.
I'm not even kidding. That is literally his name. But yeah, just that series, like looking back on all the deaths that happen in there, and all just like the tragic moments. Like you have one of the main character, like not just the main. It's basically the equivalent of I would say Sasuke dying in Naruto, but actually staying dead. Like the main protagonist of the series actually dies partway through it, and it's like one of the most realistic and saddest steps ever, because he basically dies of Alzheimer's disease. So yeah, I would highly recommend, not for the animation because it was made in the 90s, so it's like the animation is not its strongest point, but I would recommend it and checking out the books as well, because the books are just as like, oh my god, this is like what the hell kind of thing, just as much as the TV series. But the TV series is strong on its own.
Okay.
So that is my last Dark series.
Okay. Tyler, you got one?
I don't really have one.
Zangetsu?
Really have that one because I don't really. This is gonna seem like a little bit like I don't really get into like particularly dark series. I don't really like them as much.
I'm surprised you haven't brought up the obvious one based on your profile pic, Songetsu. Power Rangers RPM.
Oh yeah, it's just kid show, just based off of genocide of humanity.
Just a kid show based off genocide. Wait, what?
Yeah, it's just the robots they fight against in the series killed like what 99% of humanity and also most of the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Well, since it takes place in an alternate dimension RPM, it's questionable if there really was any Power Rangers before them.
There were, because we get references to them like with the helmets like scattered about like in the place in which they live. Like there are Ranger helmets there, implying that they did exist at one point.
Yeah, it's implied, but we don't really know a whole lot about the previous Rangers. I will say, like, RPM is probably the darkest you'll see Power Rangers, at least currently. We don't know how, like, Netflix is going to handle the Power Rangers franchise moving forward. It could very much be a even darker tone. We could see, like, Shattered Grid being adapted, where, like, if you haven't read the Power Rangers comics, you have an alternate dimension Tommy slaughtering the Power Rangers to access the morphing grid and become immortal, basically. And as he progresses, Lord Drakon, the evil Tommy, gains like various forms where he gains like the abilities of all the Rangers whose morphos he's collected. So like, think Tommy with like RPM abilities or Tommy with Ninja Storm abilities, stuff like that. Is very terrifying to see in action. I recommend reading the Boom comic line for that. But there's a potential where like they could just make it pacified and make it all baby Power Rangers and make it Mighty Morphin all over again. We don't know.
Yeah.
I think if Tommy like took all the pink energy, he would have been unstoppable.
Too much
Right.
pink energy is dangerous.
Absolutely. Like it's the thing. Like in the most recent like couple chapters, you saw like the Pink Emissary, right? Where Kimberly sees like she's not to blame for the fact that the Pink Ranger changes. She doesn't die. She just passes on her power. Because it's a very real thing that you would think, like, having seen the potential futures of the universe, right? Do I die? Do I fail? Does the world cease to exist, you know? And you see these moments where, like, the Pink Emissary comes on, like, no, you've passed your powers on to Kat or to whoever takes the... We don't really know at that point, like, who gets the new pink powers, but you see, like, Zeo, RPM, in space. You see all these various different Pink Rangers carrying on the mantle of pink energy, and you see her get this, like, massive... Yeah. You see, like, the pink power boost as she's fighting, like, in this simulation that she's in at this point, trying to power up so she can prevent that future of, like, her potentially dying with, like, Billy and Tommy, at that point, and a few others, just kind of, you know, doing this danger room style, exercise. And you see her kind of get this, like, massive power boost, because at this point, like, all of the, like, future villains slip in. We don't know if they're real or fake, but, you see them all, like, kind of slip in. So you see Rancic and, Draconda and a bunch of others kind of just pop in and just be like, it's a Pink Ranger, let's kill her, you know? So you see her get this, like, massive power buff, and just boom, 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 and then they're all down. But Tommy's, like, fucked up because it's Tommy, and he wants to be the leader kind of thing. But yeah.
Talk about Rance for a second, because he's what makes that season, like, legitly, like, good, because if it wasn't, it would have just been like a 1-for-1, like, entire thing if he wasn't even in it.
Yeah. Like, if it wasn't for him, like, that season would have probably been, like, one of the most mid-seasons in all of Power Rangers history. But yeah, like, I think how we'll end this is on Fire Punch. And,
Oh, God.
Fire Punch is Fujimoto's other brainchild, and, we're 2 hours and 41 minutes into this podcast, so I can say it. There's nods to bestiality. There's nods to rape. There's nods to all sorts of lovely subject matter in there. And you need to one, have not ate in the last hour, and you need to have a strong mental fortitude to read it, because that series is
just eat everything on your plate right now and listen to this entire thing.
Yeah. Because there's a character in there that we dubbed Dogfucker, where he there's a character that kind of just gets his legs chopped off because this is a Fujimoto production, and he's made into a human battery, but his entire other job is to pleasure his dogs. Yeah. There's also, like, this is during basically what was essentially a environmental holocaust. You see the world is kind of frozen over. There's nods to cannibalism to keep everybody alive, because the protag he's basically fucking Wolverine. He can regrow his limbs, so he just serves up, like, human soup to the village people. The entire plot is finding his sister and making sure she's okay. The sister might be in the reins of Dogfucker and his crew's entire camp. He might not. Yeah, it's every shade of fucked up.
and you know, since Denji has all those dogs to take care of in part 2.
I hope you're not implying anything.
I have been implying that since the end of part 1.
Yeah, at this point, who the fuck knows what Makima was doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I put nothing past Fujimoto after having read the first, like, 45 chapters of Fire Punch on stream. And like I said earlier, like, we're going to be continuing that. So donate now to pay for our therapy, or sub, or do the things, because this is technically a subathon if you're watching this on Twitch while it's live. Because I question my own sanity after reading those first few chapters. It's that fucked up. It is legitimately that fucked up, everyone. I don't know. Fujimoto's a whole different breed of author. And at this point, I'm curious to see how the story is going to progress, because I love the camera girl, like the chick that was wanting to make a movie out of everything that was going on. And you see, as you progress through the Fujimoto expanded universe, as I call it, you see that bits and pieces of his previous work pop up in his future work, right? So Goodbye Eri is all like making a movie, basically. And that camera girl was making that. Look Back kind of takes on that overly, like, fucked up tone that was at the end game of Chainsaw Man. And I don't know about his, like, short stories that are getting published, like I said in the last Chainsaw Man chapter. But once they are released here in America, I'm definitely going to be reading them. And we'll eventually make content out of all of this. Because Fujimoto is that type of author that has consistently evolved as he's moved on in the media. And you don't see that often. You see a lot of authors get stuck in the same writing style. I'm looking at Kishimoto, for example, where he tried to write basically Naruto but make it samurai and futuristic with Samurai 8. And that's why that series failed so miserably, was because he tried to write the same story but change the plot, right? And you see it, as much as I hate to say it, with Kubo and Burn the Witch. Burn the Witch was make the Soul Reapers witches. And arguably the same universe, right? So it should work. But I could not have been less interested in Burn the Witch after chapter 1. And it's unfortunate because I love Kubo as an author. Kishimoto less so, because I think Kishimoto wrote weaker side characters. And Naruto himself as a main character was already boring as dick. So, but with Fujimoto, every single series has a different feel, but some sort of a familiar element. And that's what makes his writing so goddamn awesome. To me, anyway. I could be talking out of my ass for 97% of the audience for those series. But that's how I feel. Final thoughts?
I will say, on the topic of that,
Go ahead.
an author I want to bring up is Atsushi Okubo.
Mm-hmm.
Where I feel like Soul Eater and Fire Force definitely do have similar vibes, probably because Fire Force turned out to be a prequel, but like I feel like even though they feel similar, they still have their own identity.
Very much so. I having been reading Fire Punch on stream, or Fire Force on stream, right? And having grown up with Soul Eater, like, Okubo's writing style definitely does progress, but I will say he does fall into that familiar territory, right? So I ended the last stream on chapter 100, for example, and you can definitely kind of see a little bit of a Medusa vibe there, but at the same time, it's different enough to keep you intrigued, right? Whereas somebody like Kishimoto, for example, like, I read the first 30 chapters of Samurai 8. I gave it its due diligence. I think there was 50-ish chapters total. But like at 30 in, I'm like, I'm done. I can't be bothered to care. because it feels like I'm reading Naruto 2.0, and Boruto already exists, right? And with Boruto, at least I know it's in the same fucking universe, and I could at least care in the sense of, like, I'm reading about Naruto's kid, and Sasuke's kid, and Sakura's kid, and, you know, and feel that familiarity there. Hello, hello, hello. I could care at that point, but I just couldn't be bothered with Samurai 8 because it just felt like is just Naruto, but make it samurai in future. Just it.
It's weird because their samurais were in the series. I feel like could have, you know.
Yeah, it's just
Mm-hmm.
Naruto, but gotta get back to the future Samurai 8.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta get back to the future. Samurai 8.
But at the same time, like, when you go to somebody like Takahashi, for example, just to play devil's advocate, right? Every single thing in the Yu-Gi-Oh universe felt different enough. It had the same familiar elements, but it felt different enough plot-wise. Like, with Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, you're having a tournament, and the whole goal is, like, saving Grandpa, and you're having, you know, the Battle City, where, like, you can win rare cards, but you're also saving the world because you're trying to defeat the Egyptian god monsters and collect them all to prevent the end of the world. And then you're having, like, the fucking final tournament, and you're going into, like, the Millennium World and setting the Pharaoh free. Duel GX, you're at school, but you also have, like, all these battles, and you have, like, the fucking sacred beasts who are powering up this door, but you also have, like, the dark universe where, like, you have Yubel. 5Ds, you have bike duels where you're also, like, preventing goddamn Armageddon. Obviously, like, the end of the world is a fucking prevailing theory, but, like, every plot feels different enough to where you care. Oh god. Kishimoto wishes Tarkovsky. Yeah. Like, and then, like, fucking Zexel, you're trying to collect the numbers to regain the memories of your goddamn ghost friend's brain. Like, there's enough to care about each individual part, but at the same time,
The
like,
special thing about Arc 5, it's bad.
Yeah. Like, I've heard so much bad about Arc 5. Like, I haven't read it or watched it or anything of it.
I'll be the judge of it when I eventually get around to continuing it.
Yeah, I gotta start and finish it, and then I can judge it objectively. But, like, even Sevens, like, the Rush Duel format, like, it's a different enough feel to make it, you know, interesting, right? I love that in Takahashi's writing, or to some degree, just like Studio Dice in general, right? With Studio Dice being, like, the main focus of all that. The same thing with, like, Studio Gaga continuing Berserk, like we talked about at the beginning of the Dark stuff. Like, you have those other studios continuing the works when the author doesn't really want to or isn't able to continue these projects. So hopefully in the future, like, if Kishimoto comes back with another series, it'll be something good. But I'm not holding my breath.
Be in the present with what's another, with knights on horses.
I think Elusive Samurai has that one covered right now. Maybe it'll be in the present with, you know, espionage, because that's a prevalent topic right now with Spy X Family and Mission Yosakura Family.
Which, speaking of which, gotta give props to Mission Yosakura for how dark Momo is as a character.
Yeah, like that franchise, right? I hope it gets a good studio, because fucking David Productions is animating on that Unlock, and I could not.
I know. I was gonna bring that up. I was waiting for the right moment.
I could not.
Wait.
Yes,
Even production?
Yes.
I could not have seen that coming at all. That is like the worst franchise in Jump right now, and it's getting produced by one of the best studios.
I
They
thought
got
it was gonna
the-
get like Studio Trigger.
It got the
Can't we
fuck.
get-
It got the fucking God roll.
Can't we get Michino's call for for David Productions?
I'll take
No,
fucking.
they're gonna get Cloverworks.
Shush right
Do
now, Tyler.
not say that. Do not. But my final thoughts, very quickly. I want to just quickly give some shine some light to an author who may not seem familiar to some, but when you say the name of their series, you'll know. Shuso Oshimi, who's the author of The Flowers of Evil and Blood on the Tracks.
Oh God, Blood on the Tracks just terrifies me.
That, if you want to talk about dark, super messed up series, like Blood on the Tracks is right up there. But it's just one of those series where you just have to know what's going to happen next.
Right, like there's like I just don't know how that even got a manga. No, Undead Unluck is objectively one series that lost me. Seamus Nova, I'm sorry. I was part of the reviews for that on the channel originally, and at around chapter 50, I just could not even be bothered. Like it fits their style perfectly. Like it has that JoJo-esque animation, so it got the God roll for studios. I'm happy for the fans of it, but it's not something we're ever going to really cover again at this point. No, but like I think the other one that we really gotta give a little bit of a nod to, just on the subject matter they've been able to cover, is Paru Iragaki, the creator of Beastars. And because Beastars being about like systemic racism, we have her other one where she's touching on like the OCD nature of things, where like her and her obsession with hot water, I forget the name of it, the Santa Claus one that she did. Like she has a very unique writing style on a lot of the different concepts that she's touched, and I absolutely adore her writing and her art style. You've seen it evolve from like her early Beast Complex days to Beastars to now, like seeing how that has evolved as she's grown as a mangaka has been really interesting. I think another one that we really need to weigh in on is, I know it's going to get a lot of hate, just on the subject matter he's touched on, Reki Kawahara, who's done Sword Art Online, Cell World, because I've never seen an author grow so much in their subject matter and the ability to handle it with care. Because he is one of the few authors that I have ever seen outwardly apologize to the voice actors for having to depict a scene. And that was during the Alicization arc. He's like, I am so sorry you had to go through this. I have grown as a person since then and have stopped using the subject matter as a plot device. And you won't be acting it out past this arc, basically. And that is a great moment to see self-growth from an author, in my opinion. Any final little nods from y'all before we stop this recording at 3 hours?
Wow.
I would say pee pee poo poo vagina, but I already said that, so
I've got nothing else.
I have
Zangetsu,
a
anything from you?
screwdriver.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you in the next episode, which hopefully by that point will be the continuation of the boss fights. I don't know if that will be the case. I know Andrew is very, very busy with his wedding stuff, so we're kind of knocking off a bunch of the other topics at the moment. But we will be returning to that boss fight for part 2 of that. We still have the tier list ready for that when we get back to it. So thanks for your patience while part of us are dealing with our growing family / lifestyle, and then the rest of us are trying to hold up our end of the bargain here. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.